My mom taught me this trick, and I'm going to teach it to you all now. Times when I'm feeling stressed, I shut my eyes, and I envision the Grand Canyon. That huge red chasm in the earth dug out below me as far as I can see. I'm looking down into it as though it is my life. I look way over there, and that's the day when I was born. Over here is when my dad took me to my first peace march. Here is my first boyfriend, and right after my first heartbreak. This is when I spoke in meeting for the first time, and this span is college. Here's today, and here's tomorrow. And this is the future, when I'm no longer a yaff, and I'm an oaf. And maybe I'll have a house and a garden. So I take my worry and I look down into this massive timeline and I drop it in. And in the spectrum of life, it's so tiny you can hardly see it. All of this is to say that last week I had to drop this speech into the canyon. I was having trouble identifying what exactly my journey here to FCNL was. I know that good speeches have this compelling story that culminates in an aha moment when you tell your audience about this flash in time when the world cracked open and you came to a formative realization about your life. I hungered for that moment but could not put my finger on it. And so I thought, Shannon, just drop your speech in the canyon. And indeed, it looked much more manageable and contextualized in the spectrum of my entire life. But envisioning my life in this way gave me another sort of clarity. Everybody, all of you, can envision your canyon. Small moments, major life events, patterns, people, and places that shape you. And right now, sitting here, and right now, all of those disparate things, yours and mine and the person sitting next to you, brought us here to this room. Different things populate our sojourns here, but as Mary Oliver wrote, though it be my story, it will be common. Though it be singular, it will be known to you. I think that perhaps aha moments are only a part of how we end up where we are. And ultimately, our journeys are fragments of many things all smushed together. I think first we're our bodies, our physical beings, how healthy they are, our skin and our hair and our height, our gender, the octaves of our voice, the breadth of our eyes, our brains, and those synapses that I don't understand. And then we're our environment. If we live upstream or down, the air we had to or got to breathe where we grew up. Then we're our families, or the people that we relied on when we were little. Those we learned from and watched, and maybe were even damaged by. How funny they were, how curious, how strict, how they handled difficult times. And finally, were the experiences that we've had, each discrete thing in our lives and the accumulation of certain patterns over time. As we move through the world, I think we drag along all that stuff, and it creates a frame through which we view each new experience. I saw this in my canyon and began to think about how these things brought me here with you now. My frame is a light one. My body is healthy, my skin is privileged, my height is very average. The environment around me is deeply troubled, but day to day, I don't experience its brokenness like so many other people do. My family is wonderful. My mom is the hardest working human being I have ever met, a nurse, a single mom for many years. She has the hardest time sleeping, and I know it's because she carries around other people's weight at night. And my dad is the sweetest dad. At meeting each week, he writes down the names of everyone held in the light and thinks about them all week long. And my brother, who's 12 years older than me, is a strong and principled man who teases me the perfect amount, and when he knows something, knows it in his bones. I've also always lived with my grandmother, who taught me that God is hope and faith and charity. And I've grown up in a community of Quakers who taught me that God is love, and God is you and the goodness inside. So the life I've had is a cushy one, and so much of why I'm here at FCNL with a mind towards social justice and a thirst for greater political awareness is because of this wonderful life. And this isn't to say that there haven't been hard moments and hard days and hard days and days. I've always lived in a city and gone to big public school where there was a lot of joy and a lot of sorrow, and it was impossible to make sense of why some kids had mittens and lunch and a chance, and so many didn't. My brother is also half black, which has greatly shaped my life. In many ways, that's very much his story to tell and not mine, but I will say that the privilege I felt just standing next to him, a parallel human being in the universe, the only brother I have, my share of genes, of parents, of home, is a weight and a pain that I am very grateful to know exists, but I am so humiliated to know exists in his life every day. There's also illness in my immediate family of perhaps the most horrible kind, and more thoughts in a day than I'd even like to admit are consumed by that. So I'm here because of those hard things too, these heartbreaking things, these things that I feel in my chest and my belly and my knees. Sometimes I think the heartbreaking things catalyze us into action the most. Sometimes I even think, how can I be more heartbroken? My constant struggle is how I use this wonderful life that I'm so lucky to have and its heartbreaking parts to prop my head up and face the world instead of be sheltered by it. Be able to feel what I see, break from it, and then move forward. Parker J. Palmer reminds us to make our hearts supple so that they break open instead of apart. Open to the possibility of healing the world with a deep sense that it is not only possible, but it is happening, and we can be a part of it. We are a part of it. Perhaps the pieces that frame your life, that you drag along, have made you supple. Or perhaps they've made us a bit hard. Perhaps they've made us impatient. Perhaps they've made us fearful or insecure or forgetful. Perhaps they've made us too loud or perhaps almost silent. But what I have come to know, largely through Quaker meeting, is that continuing revelation is possible. We will always know more about God or the Spirit or goodness or one another or ourselves than we know now, if we keep looking. So I wanted to write this speech simply, in hopes to remind us that though the words in your story and my story and these incredible other 7 stories may be different, the sentiments are shared. I wanted to write this speech so that, though it's my journey, there's something familiar about the way it sits in you. I wanted to write this speech so that you, like me, will think about what brought you here. That body, this earth, your families, the happenings of every day. And then standing here together, look up instead of away. Feel the heartbreak and be moved by it into the world we seek. Thank you.